Hello and welcome to this session on Microsoft Excel. My name's Dan and I'm working alongside the Suffolk Chamber of Commerce and Suffolk New College to bring you these training sessions. Today we're going to focus on Microsoft Excel. Okay, so to get started, we're going to drop down to our start menu at the bottom here. I'm using Windows 11 and I'm going to find Microsoft Excel. I'm going to open up Microsoft Excel. And we're going to look at the layout of this home page. So as you can see, I'm on the home page here. I've got access to a new documents, or I can open existing documents as well. Now on the home tab, what that will do is it will give you access to all three of those particular things. You've got access to new documents here. You've got access to templates. You've got access to documents that you've already opened or you've been working on in the past. And you've also got access to any pinned documents or any documents that have been shared with you. So actually, you can see that very much like some of the other Microsoft applications, you can actually go in and find your documents very easily and without fuss. Now, again, you can pin documents. So if I just look at a particular document and pin it, let's have a look at this one here. So one of the ones, I'm just going to pop a pin there. And what that will actually do is I'll go into my pinned option now. You can see that I've got a delegate activity that's been pinned there for me. So we'll come back to that one a little bit later. So any documents that have been shared with me and things that I'm working on collaboratively, I can also access under the shared with me option 2 on the home tab. Now I'm just going to pop out to the left hand side again and go to new. Now what this is actually doing is give me a couple of different options. So I've got a blank workbook. And actually, a few days ago, I was looking at the phases of the moon calendar. I was just quite interested to see what that looked like. Microsoft Excel has loads and loads of different templates. And as you can see here, under the new option, you can actually search for particular templates as well, like you can on the home page, but it's probably a bit more visual here. You can search by business. You can search by personal. There's lots of different things on here which are already created for you. So instead of you having to have the worry about creating something, you've got lots of different templates on here that you can just utilize, which is the whole point and the beauty of Microsoft Excel now. There are also some really good videos in this area as well, so you can take a tour. So if you've had your training and you just want to kind of reflect upon it and look at some kind of different videos, then actually you can take a tour, you can get started with formulas, and these are all part of the help elements that come as part of Microsoft Excel too, so you should have access to those. The last bit on the left-hand side here is the Open tab. So the Open tab allows you to kind of search within all of your drives that you have access to. So here I've got my Switch Direction drive, I've got my Switch Direction SharePoint sites, I've got my personal OneDrive, and actually I can access my PC, or I can add particular places like a Dropbox or Google Drive, for example. And I can also browse for certain things on my computer as well. So again, you've got all of the kind of the open options there. And then what it will also do is give you access to all of the recently kind of open documents. You can see I've got quite a lot that are open now. I use Excel quite a lot for what I do. At the top, that's searching workbooks. And then also you can also look within folders. So if you're not quite sure where things are saved, you can obviously click on folders and it brings up those particular folders for you, which is quite good too. So Excel is very versatile. It works very similarly to Microsoft Word if you've done your Word training, and it also works quite similarly to Microsoft PowerPoint as well. So again, it's just kind of looking at that and working out where your documents are. It just gives you ease of those documents as well, so you don't have to kind of remember things. Now down at the very bottom here, you've got account, you've got license, feedback, and options. So I'm just going to click on the options just to show you this. Now, the Options tab is very, very useful because like, again, some of the other Microsoft applications, it gives you the opportunity to kind of standardize and formulate how you would like Excel to work. Now, everybody has their own preferences, so I'm not going to go through all of the preferences with you. But again, it's a good place to go and have a look to see if you want things to open up automatically, if you want spell check to happen automatically. That's one thing that doesn't happen instinctively in Excel, so that's always a good thing to go and look for. Under the proofing option, but it's also very good to actually look at your quick access toolbar. So your quick access toolbar allows you to add certain functionalities that sit within Excel that you might use again and again and again. So for me, I have things like auto save, I have undo, redo. I always use undo and redo all the time. I've also got spelling on there as well, so I don't actually have it set up on Excel because what I'd like to do is at the end of each document is I'd just like to check the spelling myself. So I've got my spelling element on my quick access toolbar, and I do use custom sort quite a lot as well. So it means that I'm setting up my own filters and I'm setting up my own things within Excel. So that, so there's some of the things that I have my preference there, my kind of quick access toolbar options. To add things to it is really, really quite easy. So say, for example, I wanted to add an email option. I click on email on the left-hand side under the popular commands, and you can actually search quite fruitfully under like the home tab or wherever, you can search. I just usually use popular because it brings them all up. Click on email, and then I can add that to my quick access toolbar, and I will show you what happens when I've added that. So I click on OK at the bottom there. And as you can see on my Excel at the top here, this is where your quick access toolbar is. So if I just open up a new blank document, because it will make them more visible for you, you can see I've got my auto save options, I've got my save, I've got my undo, redo, I've got my spell check, I've got my custom sort, and now I've got my email as well. So I want to email the document over. So you can see that the quick access toolbar is there, and it's about you setting up for your preferences on things that you might use kind of more frequently than others. And it saves you having to travel through Excel to look for that particular function. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to the Home tab on Excel, and you can see we're on the Home tab already. And again, so if you've used Microsoft products before or you've been through the Word or PowerPoint training, you can see that there are some real similarities here. And the good thing about Microsoft is that they've tried to keep it as easy and as succinct and also as unified as they possibly can as well. So you kind of know where to find things throughout their applications. So on this Home tab, you've got your clipboard options. So you've got your paste, you've got your cut, so cutting information, you've got your copy, you've got your format painter. You've also then got your fonts and those kind of formatting options. Slightly different to Word in this instance because actually you're dealing with cells. So you've actually got your alignment and your color shading and also your text shading too. Next to that, you've got your alignment, so how you would like your text or your information to be presented within a cell. You've also got where you want it to be indented or any orientation. You then kind of wrap the text within a cell, so it means that you can have multiple lines within a cell, or you can merge and center the cell, so it means that it can actually go across a number of different cells and actually merge. So I'll just show you that in a bit. Next to that, you've then got your numbers and how you would like information to be presented. And a little bit further along here, you've got some things like conditional formatting, format as a table. So this is when you've got information on your worksheet, how you would like that information to be presented. So we'll look at that as well with some examples. Along from there, you've got things like inserting, deleting, and formatting cells. Again, I've got some quick shortcuts to show you how to use those. So we'll have a look at those as we're working our way through. And then over here, when we do some function elements a little bit later, and we're looking at formulas, we'll actually use some of these parts here as well. So the auto sum and the clear options. You've then got your filter and find and select parts. I've got a couple of add-ons here which are from Adobe. So you might not necessarily have these on your Home tab, so don't worry if you don't see them. Right, so I'm just going to talk you through how to use some of the Home tab elements here. So I'm just going to paste some information onto this blank spreadsheet. I'm just going to paste the values so we can just literally have a look at the information. So I've got some information here about a dinner party. It's for 6 people. And I've also got like the items that we're gonna eat at the dinner party, what course those things are going to be eaten in, and actually a cost as well. I just want to know how much it's going to cost me. And as you can see, it's very bland. It looks a bit boring, and actually it's quite hard to read because there's quite a lot of stuff that's overlapped. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to show you first of all how I can cut and paste this information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this information to somewhere else. So you can insert at this point, but actually I'm just going to show you how to use the copy and paste functionalities. So say, for example, I've decided I don't want the information there. So I've highlighted the information. And to do that, I just click on the top cell there with my left mouse finger, and I'm just dragging it down so it highlights. And then what I'm going to do is just going to lift my finger off, and I'm going to cut that information. So you can now see that that information is going to something's going to happen. Excel knows something's going to happen there. So I'm just going to pop it over into this F area here. I'm going to do it kind of halfway down the page as well. So I'm just going to do kind of F8. So that 8 here, and then column F, and then row 8. So I'm just going to right click, and I'm just going to paste that information there. So what I've now done is I've cut the information and I've pasted the information. So it just gives me a bit more area to play around with. What I'm also going to do is I'm just going to make it so I can actually see all the information. As you can see here, that some of the information has been hidden. And to do that, you can literally just double click on this line here between F and G, where you've got that funny kind of line and arrow. I can double click there and it expands my cells for me as well. So it makes it really nice and easy. I also know that I want this title here to kind of look a bit brighter and be a bit bolder. And to do that, I'm actually going to use my merging center. So I'm going to click on, I'm going to highlight where I want the merging center to go. So I want it to go across the whole table. And I'm going to click on merging center there. And you can see now that's kind of centralized it for me, and it's merged it across those three cells. And likewise, I'm going to do the same underneath as well, just to keep them separate. Okay, so I'm feeling a bit happier about that now. It's looking a little bit tidier. So I've got my dinner party costings. It's for 6 people. I've got all my different items here. Down here, I've got all my different courses and my cost as well. Now, because I've got a cost associated to it, what I want to be able to do is make that so it looks a bit more like an actual, I want to have some pound signs next to it. So I know it's actually a cost associated. So there are a couple of different ways you can do that. Now, if I go up to the number section, so again, I've just used my left mouse to highlight down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here. Now you've got these financial elements here. If you drop down next to those, you can see that it's looking at pounds, English United Kingdom pounds. Or up here, I can select this drop down and actually look at the currency or accountancy options as well. I'm going to use currency in this instance. Okay, I'm going to click on the currency, and you can now see that it's now given me a pound sign, and it's given me something which more looks like a cost association to that. Now, to make my chart look a little bit easier to read, what I'd like to be able to do is just give it a little bit of color. So again, I'm just highlighting across, and now because you've merged that in the middle, this top title, you should be able to just click on it and then drag down and with your left mouse, and that will actually then highlight all of that information for you. And I'm going to go up to format as a table, and I'm actually going to select kind of how I want my table to look. Let's use something that's going to really stand out. So let's go for this nice kind of green here. I'm going to go for the green with the white lines. Okay, now what that's telling me now is saying, okay, I understand that you've got this table of information, but before I start adding in the color and things to this, I want to check that your table definitely has headers. Okay, so my table definitely does have headers. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK, because it does. And it's telling me that it's going from F8, which is here, so column F and row 8, and it's taking me down to H20, and I've got column H, and I've got row 20 here. So I've definitely got all the information there. I'm going to click on OK, and there we are. It's now added in some extra bits of information for me. So one of the things that you've probably noticed here is that although we went and merged and centered that information, it's actually now added in those extra columns, and it's got rid of the merge and center options. Now, realistically, what I probably should have done here is actually just started here where it says item, course, and cost, and then actually formatted the top part as I wanted it. So I'm just going to use my undo button, which is actually up here in my quick access toolbar. I'm going to undo that, and it's going to take it back to where it was. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to go from item down to 895. Okay, because that's really where my table starts. Up here is just stuff that I've added as a bit of a header or a title. And if I go to my format as a table, I'm going to select the same option, which was this one here. And again, it should ask me, does my table have headers? Now I know for sure this time it definitely does, because there's item, course, and cost there. It's already ticked. And just to check, it's looking at F10, which is there, F10, and it's looking at H20 again, which is down here. So I'm going to click on OK. And what that's now done is actually it's left the dinner party costings for six people separately, and it's actually now formulated my table for me really, really quite nicely. Now, what I could do if I was being a little bit pernickety is I could actually just make that the same color as below. So what I could do is highlight those two merged cells there, and then go to the top, find that nice green, which is that green there. Maybe slightly darker green, possibly. Maybe that green will be better. And I'm going to change my text color to white. Okay, I'm going to make it bold, probably italicize it as well, so it looks like a header. So there we are. So I've got a nice table there. Now, if for any reason you needed to expand your table, now it's formatted, you can do that really easily. You just grab this little black arrow at the bottom here, and you can just drag that across like that. And as you can see, it adds all in the extra columns for you. And again, if you wanted to reduce it, you just use that little arrow and you can reduce it back again. So it's once you've got your formatting there, it's really nice and easy to use. And it means that you can format things quite succinctly as well. So there's a bit of an insight onto adding information. We've copy and pasted information. We've looked at merging cells. We've looked at expanding cells. So we've gone through quite a bit of information there just using the Home tab. Now, what we're going to do in just a second is we're going to have a look at how we could utilize some of the insert options as well, and to help us maybe insert and make our page look a little bit more interesting. So maybe some images and things. We want to entice people. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you how to delete some of these extra columns I've got here. So what I did before is I moved some of the information down here, but actually I've realized I've left a bit too much space. So what I can do between A and D is I can highlight A and D. So I'm just using my left mouse and I'm scrolling across to D, and I'm going to now right click on that, and it will give me some different options. So as you can see, it's asking me, do I want to insert some more rows? Do I want to delete them? Do I want to clear contents? And do I want to cut them? In this instance, I just want to delete them. So I'm going to click on delete, and that will now remove all of those cells and all of those columns for me. And it means that I can kind of see that a little bit more. And likewise, I can do exactly the same with the rows as well. So if you highlight between 2 and 6, and then if I right click and if I delete, you see I can now delete those as well. That means that I've now got my nice formatted table up the top corner there, which is brilliant. Now that's given me lots of room over here to play around with. So that means I can add in some images, or I can add in some links as well for people to have access to. So I'm going to go to my Insert tab, and I'm just going to talk you through the Insert tab. So there's a couple of things here that are more intermediate, advanced things. So we're going to leave those for now. But what we can do is we can look at some of these other elements we've got along here. So we've got things like pictures, we can add shapes and icons. There is some elements of smart art as well. Now, usually in Excel, we wouldn't normally add illustrations in, like pictures and things, because actually Excel is more about data, it's more about data analytics. But sometimes it's quite nice to have a bit of an image in the background. So to do that, you can click on your images, you can place that image in a cell, or you can place it over the cells as well. So it means that you can place it so it's kind of across the breadth of the worksheet. I'm going to do it so it's across the breadth of the worksheet. So I'm going to use stock images again, and I'm going to pop into here, and I'm just going to add dinner party. Oops, I can spell dinner party if it will let me. There we are. So it's got brought up some nice images there, and then basically I just need to go in and search what kind of image I'd like. I'm going to use this one. That looks quite a good one. Click on insert, and as you can see, it's downloading the image, and it's now inputting the image for me. So what I can do is I can actually kind of utilize that just to entice people to want to come to my dinner party a little bit as well. So I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. So you just use the little button at the bottom right. I always go from the bottom right because it keeps the other dimensions in, so it doesn't elongate the page. So sometimes if you do it from here, it stretches the image and it doesn't look very nice. So I always tend to go from the corner just so it means that the image keeps its other dimensions. There we are. So you've got that there. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller from the top as well, so it kind of fits in with the table. So there we are. I've got a nice image. I've got my dinner party costumes there as well. And so if I go back to my Insert tab, what I might also want to do as well is I might want to add a chart in. So I might want to add a graph or a chart. So to do that, again, it's very straightforward. I can actually highlight my chart. So remember that my chart really starts on, my table really starts from item, course and cost. And they're the bits that I'm going to want to report on. So I'm going to drag that down. So I'm going to use my left highlight again, drag it down. And because I'm a little bit lazy, I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask Excel which it thinks is the best chart for me to use for this particular table. So I'm going to click on recommended charts, and then what it will then do is it will bring up some options for me. Now, this is a really nice, easy way, because this is you getting Excel to do the work for you. So instead of you going in and having to format it, you're saying to Excel, right, here's my information. What's the best way for me to present that information? So I'm going to click on the first option because I quite like that. It's broken everything down. It's given me a breakdown of all the costs as well. I'm going to click on OK. And that now inputs my graph into there. And you can see, because I've highlighted on the graph, it's actually telling me where this information is being pulled from as well. So red, purple, blue colors there. So I can make that a little bit bigger. And what that can enable me to do is actually kind of look at keeping track of my costs, if you like. So if I know the king pawns are 20 quid, maybe I don't want to spend 20 quid on king pawns. That's the most expensive item. What I can do is I can update my table and say I found some 10 quid. And actually, that has now reduced my chart, and actually it's kind of in relation to the table, and the information and the chart work together. So there we are. So I'm going to leave that there for now, so you can see that that's a table or a chart or a graph that's been inserted. These little buttons on the right hand side here of your graph just enables you to kind of administer. So these are chart elements, so it tells you which bits you'd like to see. So like if there's a legend there, for example, or if there's a trend line that you want to add, or if there are any data labels. So it's a really nice way of being able to access that. You can also format it. So if you're not happy with the color, you can actually go down and you can look at if there are any other options. So I'm going to maybe put it to like that so it stands out a little bit more. And again, you've also got filter options as well. So you can actually just say, well, actually, I just want to look at the king pawns and the lettuce to see how much that's going to cost me. So they stand out a little bit more too. So you can kind of administer, and you can filter particular parts of data as well, using your graph there on the right hand side. What will happen is when you click on your graph, you'll probably notice at the top you get some extra toolbars or tabs that appear as well. So you've got chart design, which gives you access to all of the things that these little buttons here do on the right hand side, as well as your format options as well. So again, it's like looking at if you want to change the color, all of that stuff. This is available to use, probably just a bit more in depth at the top there. Okay, so let's go back to your insert tab again. So we're kind of over here, we've picked the chart. Okay, there are probably just a couple of other things now really on the insert tab. Now, one thing that I find really useful in Excel is being able to link external documents to my Excel spreadsheet. And what that enables you to do, so for example, if you're looking at people that are coming to your dinner party and you want them to see the menu, what you can actually do is actually you can put a link into a cell, which then takes them to that menu. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So the first thing to do is I'm going to select a cell, and I'm going to go up to my link option. Now you can use your link option on the insert tab, or you can right click in the cell and it will then actually give you a link option at the bottom there. So I'm going to click on the little arrow. And in this instance, it's not any of those documents, to be honest. So I'm going to go and find some different documents. So I'm going to click on insert link. And then what that will enable me to do is go in and find an existing file or web page. So at the minute, this is searching my PC. But what I'd like it to do is to go to my OneDrive. That's my personal OneDrive. I want it to go to my switch direction OneDrive. There it is. And then I'm actually going to go in and find a document which is appropriate. So if I go into clients, and if I go into Suffolk New College, and if I go into Trainers Library, there'll be some documents in here, I'm quite sure. I'm not looking in Excel actually. I want to go into Microsoft Word, and I want to look for some activities. So I'm going to use one of these activities in here, delegate activity. So I'm going to use the cupcakes. Click on OK, and I'm going to add that into there. So you can see that's added that document link into there. It looks quite ugly if you think about it. That looks really complicated, and it's very unclear about what it is. You have to look right at the end. So what you can do is you can go in, and before you actually click on OK, you can go in and format this. But I'm just going to click on edit hyperlink. So I've right clicked and clicking on edit hyperlink. And actually what you'll then see at the top here, it says text to display. So that's the link. But actually what we want to do is just want to, maybe we should just call it cupcakes. Okay, so we're just going to call it cupcakes, get rid of the docx, and we're going to click on OK. And actually that makes that a little bit more viewable. So it now means that if I click on that link, it'll say, is this a safe link? And do I want to continue? I'm going to click on yes. And what that enables me to do is actually go and visit the cupcakes Word document. So just take a minute to open. So there we are. That was the original cupcakes document. If you haven't done that already, that's part of the Word training. So you might like to have a look at that. Okay, so there we are. So again, so entering hyperlinks can be really, really useful. And there's lots of different links that you can use. So you can insert, that's me inserting as existing file or a web page. You can actually link it to certain places in this document. So if I were to add an extra tab at the bottom, I'll just show you that, and you wanted people to be able to access that tab via a hyperlink, you can get them to do that as well. So if I just click underneath there, go to link, go to insert link, then go to place in this document, you can now see I've got sheet 1 and I've got sheet 2. So obviously we're working on sheet 1, but I could give people access to sheet 2. Click on that one there. I'm going to call it sheet 2. Oops. Click on OK, and that will now put sheet 2 in there. So if I click on that now, that'll take me straight to that sheet. Okay. And there's also other options for you to create emails. You can create a new document as well. You can have a link so it says create a new Word document or create a new Excel document, whatever it is. So you've got all of those different options there. I suggest you just go and have a play around with it, or think about how you might best use that in application at work or at home. So there's a couple of hyperlinks there. One of the other things that you might find quite useful are things like the text box as well. So text box can be implemented as a text box. So if you wanted to have it, you just draw it in and it creates a text box for you. So it's quite handy to have a text box in Excel sometimes if you're leaving instructions on how to do things, or if you're or if you want it just to remain there so people have to refer to it as information. So that's there. And the other option that you might like to look at, again, you just type into that as a text box. And the other thing that you might like to know about as well under the insert tab is, I'm just going to delete that now, is the comment box as well. So this is where you can actually leave a comment on certain things. So say, for example, I was looking for people to kind of just review my table or my chart for me. I could leave a comment. So I click on the cell where I want the comment to be left. I click on comment, and again, you can use the @ you can use the @ function. So if it's somebody that was in your organization, you can type their name. It'll bring it up for you, and you can, please have a look at the money. Okay, and then you can just click send. So again, you can edit that and you can delete them as well. So, you don't have to worry about them being there all the time. You can delete them quite easily as well.